From Martine Studios in New York, your trending topic TV show. This is Talking Heads with Nizam.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Talking Heads. I'm your host, Nizam. Today, I have my distinguished panel of two. I have Patrick and Aaron, and we're going to get right into it. My favorite segment. We're going to start with you, Patrick. What are you watching?
Right now, I actually just finished watching the whole series of Breaking Bad.
Ah, nice,
So,
nice.
Yeah, going through a little withdrawal right now.
All right. Spoiler alert, everybody. Does Walter White die?
Yes.
He does?
Yeah.
You know for sure?
Yes, he's dead.
I don't know. You heard the sirens coming, right?
No, I really didn't pay attention to it the whole time when it was out. So I just started from the beginning, was addicted for a good 4 weeks straight, and finished the show.
I don't know if Walter's dead or not. I don't know. We'll see. You know, they're coming out with a spinoff called Gotta Call Saul or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's
I would like that.
Gonna be interesting. Aaron, What about you? What are you watching?
Prime time. You name it on prime time, something's got to pull me away from work. So if I'm watching some of the prime time shows, it always does it. And that's what does it. Anything on prime time that's not crazy dramatic,
Not crazy dramatic. That's all that's on prime time right now.
No, I mean you got to lean towards something like Marvel's
Agents of Shield.
Agents of Shield. You got Flash that just came out. Then I go a little back as if I'm in my 20s again and I'm watching Arrow.
Yeah, those are good shows, man.
But yeah, you got Two Broke Girls. You got to love that show.
I don't watch that one.
You don't watch that? Oh my God.
Nah, I may have seen an episode or two, maybe.
You can't help. I mean, Kat is,
I think they're both pretty hot, but whatever.
Yeah. Then you got Bones.
Nope.
You don't watch Bones?
Nope.
Okay, I know that you have to watch. What's the one with the geeks?
No, don't watch that one either. The Planet. What is it called? I don't even know what it's called.
I forgot what it's called. I watch it all the time.
I don't know. I don't watch a lot of the sitcoms. I don't know.
Really?
No. I tried to watch Blackish for a little bit, but maybe I got to catch a couple more episodes or something.
What about Person of Interest?
Person of Interest is ridiculous.
Yeah. See, I knew I'd find one that you liked.
Yeah. That show. If you guys aren't watching that show, watch that show. Start from the beginning. Person of Interest. It's incredible, and it's That's a perfect segue to what we're talking about. Let's jump right in. So the FBI right now, they're having problems, or police are having problems with phones that are encrypted. So FBI has stepped in, and they want less encryption on these Androids and Apple phones. Aaron, let's start with you. How do you feel about this less encryption on the phones?
Well, I have an information architecture background, and at this day and age, we have high-end computers being hacked from Home Depot, and you name some of the big retailers, they're being hacked. So everything's about security. Now, when we're walking around with a phone, we mentioned Person of Interest. One of the things that they do is they're cloning phones all the time.
Yeah.
So what are you saying? The government, what do you want to clone our phones now? I'm all about higher security, especially when you're getting into things like Apple Pay. Now you're looking at paying from your cell phone. Why would we want less security when we're now opening up our finances and how we're going to manage and deal with money?
I mean, and just security in general, this is kind of leading to the next topic, but they're even talking about doing your badges for work, putting it on your phone, so you just kind of swipe. You have less encryption there, and now you have access to a whole building.
Exactly.
So what about you, Pat? How you feel?
I definitely agree with Aaron as far as security purposes. I think it's definitely necessary. Now as things have progressed, we definitely lost a lot through the privacy policies and everything. But I just think, they are looking out for us in our best interests, as either a consumer or just an individual and being safe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, and the FBI is stepping in now, and it's like, guys, the police only have so much that they can do. They only have so many resources. So let's work on getting some more resources instead of decrypting phones. Let's work on getting some of those people from Apple or Google to either come over and consult and, decrypt these phones that are saving lives and breaking cases, or,
Well, to me, not for nothing, it's as simple as the amendments that are already in place. If you get a search warrant, I have to give you my code. Once I give you my code, you have access to everything on my phone. What does it matter what level of encryption it has?
So there's a problem with that, because they're not getting the codes, or they're getting the codes, and even when they get in, there's still files that are hidden or whatever, and they have to unlock the whole phone. So they're having issues with that, with the warrant, and once you have the phone, getting all that information off of the phone. So I mean, I feel like this is a simple solution. You have a consultant come in, or you train some people, or you hire some smart people to come in and do that.
Well, it's simpler than that. It's, you're talking about technology. There's backdoors into all the technology that's done by the programmers and the manufacturers. They create a backdoor for the FBI and everybody else that when they have a proper search warrant, they can utilize the code to access the phone.
But you said it. They create a backdoor for the FBI and everybody else. Everybody else is the good guys, but everybody else is the bad guys too. Mm-hmm. So I would rather have these police take 6 months to solve a crime or even a murder, if it means that everything else is that much more secure. I don't know.
If they have to be left to utilizing a phone as a source of finding evidence, when phones have only existed in our life for, let's say, the past 15 years, 10 years in the mainstream public, come on. You guys have been investigating crimes for centuries.
Exactly.
The old techniques should work just as well.
Right. I agree. But let's keep it going with the whole technology thing. So artificial intelligence is just getting crazy now. They're talking about an AI that will answer emails for you now. And there's so much more going on with artificial intelligence. Pat, let's start with you. How do you feel about the AIs and where it's going?
I definitely think it's very interesting and a bit scary as well. As someone that works with people hands-on all the time, I would rather work with a person than a machine. But as you notice, things are changing all the time. And now when you Google artificial intelligence, one of the first things that comes up is the Tesla and all the changes happening with that. And as well as working with people, I drive a lot. So the last thing I want is someone taking control of me driving a vehicle, especially if I'm driving other people or whatnot. So it's scary, and at the same time, I feel like we're losing some of that connection with people. Whether it's social skills or communication skills, things are starting to lack. So it's a little scary.
But you, Aaron?
Well, artificial intelligence, it's going to be here. It's going to help us. I know that there are operations that are assisted by artificial intelligence for brain operations and things of that nature. In your everyday life, there are phones now that, you've seen the iPhone. There's a commercial, I think it's one of the Motorola phones maybe, that is more AI than what the iPhone is, where it'll recognize, oh, you have an appointment. Hey, there's 20 minutes and worth of traffic till you get there. So that type of technology is being put in our hands now. We just have to decide how far into our lives we want it to go. A lot of these smart homes now are creating where it's in line with an app. As you approach the house, your garage door may open, your lights may come on, the heating will change. And then there's artificial intelligence within that house that then basically reads how you regulate the temperature through your house and will then carry it out for you based on whatever the profile is that you put in, whether it's to save energy or for comfort. So there's a good and a bad to it, but you mentioned something that's the scary side of AI, which goes back to the security features, that somebody else taking over something while you're driving. How do you know whether it's AI or is it a hacker that's hacked in?
Right.
So going back to it, we need heavier security on all digital items to protect the public and protect safety if it's something in a car like a Tesla.
Right. I mean, even with the parallel parking, the cars are coming out now. You hit a button or you put it in, and then you just let it go, and it parks for you. Like pretty soon it's going to be like the iRobot, where you jump in the car and you lay out, and the car drives for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, part of that they're already experimenting with in Europe is these cars that can go on the Autobahn and they will sync up with each other. And that way they're driving like 18 inches away from each other. The driver takes a hand off the wheels, and you just sit back, and it becomes a train full of cars, which saves a lot in gas, time. You don't get the bumper, the slow and stop, which cause a lot of accidents.
Right.
So there is a place for AI. We just have to, like all technologies, we have to find how it really fits into our life.
I agree. That's a really good point. And that's a great segue for the next one, because recently a rocket blew up on the way to the International Space Station. So this is AI at its worst, I guess. You know, these are the dangers of artificial intelligence when you have something like a rocket or whatever it's controlling, a car or whatever it is. When something malfunctions or when something goes wrong, you have a catastrophe like this. Aaron, how do you feel about this? You know, it's going with supplies. They said they were non-essential. I love when they say non-essential employees, non-essential supplies. You know, going to the space
PR
station.
downplaying it.
Exactly, but
Yeah.
but you know, in the same vein of artificial intelligence and this whole rocket thing. I mean, I thought we went to the moon. You know, when was the last time we got it?
You know, human error will always exist. And that's what we just have to understand. We could say AI in that once it launches, then there's a program that then takes over and plots its points to get it from point A to point B. But there's always human error. I mean, when we lost those astronauts in the 80s, it ended up coming down to a ring that had been used too much, and it started to dry rot. So there's always something that maybe AI in this case may have been better, because if there's a program, which is what AI is, that's checking every little detail, maybe that would have found it. So we don't know which way it is. I haven't heard enough to know what was the cause of that explosion.
It's still kind of shady.
It always will be.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean,
exactly.
that's anything that happens. Everything is shady. Even if there's a fight, you know, when we're grade kids, you get in a fight in the classroom, teacher goes, "Who did it?" Everybody clams up. you know,
Yeah.
We're never going to find out what it was. Well, I won't say we'll never will, but at this point we don't know.
Right.
But it could have been any number of things. I just think that monetarily, it's a great loss, because we lost an incredible amount of resources. They may say non-essential, but how many of those pieces that were blown up can actually be replaced?
Right.
That's the real question. If it's non-essential, then they can knock them back out. But if it is, then now we've lost, and we may be put back a couple of years in technology for all we know.
Yeah. Pat, what's your thoughts on that?
I thought that was an interesting situation. They did say that it was non-essential items, but then at the same time, there was an article that mentioned there were these confidential items that they were still looking for and trying to recover in the wreckage. So there's very high security around that area right now, just to see. I guess they're trying to find whatever something that was on that rocket. So it really makes you question what's going on, and do we really know everything? But it's still science leaves a lot for trial and error, and just kind of got to bear with it and see how things progress.
But my thing is, we've been doing this for 50 years, 60 years. You know, how are we all? How we can? I feel like we've had more. We haven't had more explosions, but I feel like that. Mm-hmm. You know, and we're sending supplies to the space station. What are these non-essential supplies? And if there is confidential material, why are we sending confidential material to a space station?
Well, confidential probably more likely isn't proprietary. Whether it's a corporation who wants to do some kind of testing, because a lot of the testing that we're doing is growing in space. We're trying to see the effect of seeds, and they're growing in space, so that we can figure out whether or not we actually want to put something into play where we can grow our food in a more controlled environment. So that confidentiality, I don't think in terms of government, because why would we? But it could be computer sciences. It could be anything that has patents on it that they just want to have tested. That type could be corporations out there now going crazy because they've now lost their only prototype for something.
Yeah. Hopefully they wouldn't put their only prototype on something like that, but it is what it is. So I don't know. I feel like we are maybe falling behind a little bit, and millions and billions of dollars are spent on these launches, and we literally can't get them off the ground. It's crazy.
Well, the thing we have to remember, though, there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of satellites above us. There are launches that go on all the time, and we don't hear about a lot of them, but of course we hear about the ones when they explode.
Right.
So let's say that there are 100 a year. If one blows up, that's 1%. So, it may seem like there's a lot, but in my opinion, it doesn't seem like there is enough if we're going to look at thinking something's going wrong, or why is this happening or that happening. If we're having one a year, and again, we're one country that may have 100. Imagine what China is doing, what Russia is doing, what Japan and Eurasia is doing. Who knows? But I could deal with one a year. Non-essential or not.
No, I mean, and that's my thing too. It feels like there's more, because that's what all you hear about. You don't hear about the successful launches. It might be buried. in the news, but you don't hear about that all the time. Well, let's switch it up. This is one of those Facebook hot topics. It came out a few days ago, and people still talking about it. There was a woman or actress, and she was filmed walking through the streets of New York, and she, I guess the guys wanted her to smile or talk, and it sparked a lot of fire on Facebook. It came off as disrespectful. A lot of people were talking about it. Did you check out the video? What do you think about that, Pat?
I actually did not see the video.
You didn't see it?
No.
How do you feel
Who's
about
the actress?
I don't know. I'm not sure who the actress is.
Okay.
She's just an actress. But I guess so. She walks through the streets of New York for 10 hours, and all the men on the street are like, "Hey, beautiful. Hey, baby," you know, talking to her. There's a guy that walks next to her for like 5 minutes or something, just walking, and Facebook went crazy.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. I didn't get a chance to see it. So
check it out.
No.
Aaron, what about you? Did you see it? Did you check it out?
Yes, I did check it out. And as a single man, you know, the biggest mistake that single and married men make is catcalling. They think that it's sexy. But I've been around women that have done it too. But in this particular case, you know, yeah, she's walking in Manhattan. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give her about a 6.5.
Okay.
Because she's about 15, 20 pounds maybe overweight. And it just goes to show that you don't have to be the hottest of women to get that same type of behavior. But a lot of people just said good morning.
Right.
Hey, how are you? And even women were blowing up, and they're all pissed off. It's like, well, what is a guy supposed to say? Women get dressed up to leave the house. So I'm not allowed to compliment you? Now, the guy following her, that's ridiculous. You know, that's beyond.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, then you get the guy, oh, take my number. What, you don't like me? You don't think I'm cute? You don't want to take my number? That's harassment. But if a woman's walking by, because I've been hit on by gay men walking down the street where they're just like, hey, and I'm like, hi. Just say hi. But I think it's kind of rude when she doesn't speak to a lot of these men,
right,
where it's automatically made to be a negative. So you could tell it was a setup. Yeah. Where they just wanted to make it look like, oh my God, this woman's being harassed as she's walking down the street, but she was being rude herself. Because if somebody politely says hello to you, oh, hi, you know.
That was what a lot of people were saying on Facebook when I saw a couple feeds and a couple of posts and stuff like that. But what women were saying and some men were saying is that if you engage that, then you're engaging conversation and you're luring that person in or something like that, or the implication between good morning or a hey beautiful is more than just a salutation, and I don't know. I feel like let's be real. The first thing you see is the first thing you see. If you say that you're not, if you like someone for their personality, you like them for their personality because you got to know them. You like them off first sight because of what you saw, either their style or they're beautiful or their curves or their muscles or whatever the case may be. And I feel for this. I feel for women in the city and you know, the cat calling, but I do feel like it was kind of like a setup. And at the end of the video, I don't know if you read it says give money to Holla Back, some charity, and my question on that is, how can giving money to a charity stop the harassment of women? What type of, you're a social worker, what type of charities, how does money influence social change, or can it?
It can, but I'm not too well aware of Holler Back and what their their mission statement is and whatnot. But if it is,
and it's not clear in the video either.
Right,
but go ahead.
Right. So that's something that, if we knew that, we could probably analyze it a little better. But it is something that is important to help empower women to to be able to avoid situations like that. And I don't know what her social experiment was and how effective it was from what I'm hearing. But I feel like if you can educate young women on how to interact well with others and things like that, that's a good thing. But I'm not sure what point she was trying to prove, that men always are doing that, because it really will just show out a lot of stereotypes. And then, like you said, some gentlemen are just being nice and saying hello, good morning, things like that. So I don't know. It's a tough one.
It caught a lot of fire on Facebook.
I'm gonna have to check it out now.
People
I want to know.
yeah, if you see
Holler
it,
back.
I'm sure it's still probably trending. I'm sure people are still posting it. I haven't seen it, but it caused a lot of. It was really polarizing. Like even so it's a male female thing, but there was even people who were online saying like, oh, it looks like she's just walking through Harlem, and it turned into a race thing. It was just minorities. It was just black and Latino, Spanish guys.
Well, you know
hollering.
that was also put together specific, because I guarantee there were women that probably had said the same thing to her. You know, and coming from and being part of a black community, the one thing the black community does, we will walk down the street, especially in predominantly white areas, we acknowledge each other. And you mentioned that show Blackish. They had a whole show about the nod.
Oh,
because it exists where we're always greeting each other.
But you know what? That's only an American thing, because when I was in France and I saw a black guy and kind of walked by and gave the thing and stuff, like he looked at me like, what is wrong with this crazy person? American, but no, I feel like black people in the black community, we do acknowledge each other with like a nod or something like that, or
whether it's male or female. So we acknowledge the ladies like that, and we may say hello,
or even a smile or a hello or something. But it was interesting to hear what some of the women were saying and some of the guys were saying, because it's like, there's like, they were like, a lot of the women were saying there's a right time, and it's like, well, what if I see you at the gym? I only see you at the gym. I'm there to work out too, but I think you're attractive in your gym clothes, all sweaty. When's the right time? I've seen you 8 times in a row. It's the 6th time, the 9th time. Should I come up and say, hey, how you want to take a class?
Well, my feeling is that as long as you're not rude to the woman or to the man in that case, then anytime. You want to, first and foremost, we're humans. We should want to make friends. And that starts with a simple hello. And if we're not allowed to just say hello, then communication, well, as Fatty said, it's gone. There's already everything's social media, everything's texting. We're already losing that. And not for nothing, this woman's walking down the street in areas of Manhattan that seems to be, let's say, somewhat questionable. Let's just put it this way: in areas of Manhattan where you don't have, let's say, the highest income rate, where people are much more apt to be themselves, because those who have a higher level of income, they care more about how they're being perceived. Exactly. So they're not going to say something like that. But if you're a construction worker, because catcalling became famous with construction workers, or sailors, they're out having a good time. There's guys hanging out on the street. If you're walking down the street where you see a bunch of guys sitting, be smart. Cross over. Not for nothing. I may cross over just because I don't want to hear nothing or deal with nothing. But
So that's a good point that you made about the community or whatever, which leads me to the next topic. Charles Barkley recently was on a radio show, and he was talking about unintelligent black people, and he was saying that the black community is caught up with the image of being a thug or being gangster or whatever the case may be, and we're never going to reach a certain level of success because we want to be down and we want to be cool or whatever. How do you feel about his comments on that?
Well, first I want to back it up and take it out of the black-white context, because in elementary school is where it starts. And it starts with the cool kids. It doesn't matter what color the cool kids are. Now, usually the cool kids don't end up so much being the most successful down the road, because they're the class clowns. They're they're natural athletes. They may look incredible. But then as you get older, you start getting pushed to where your social development is happening, and you get pushed to different sides, whether you're a geek, or you're an athlete, or it may be separated by color or race. And that's where the cool kids within those areas start to rise to the top. And then again, if you have somebody who's big into sports, he may not be good in school. So in a class, he's going to joke around. Why? Because he knows he may get away with it a little bit more. But now, who do we look up to? We look up to those people, those kids, regardless of the color. But in a black society, it is more prevalent than other societies, because we have so many athletes that rise to it. But when you get to high school, you get where they're leaning towards a little bit more of the thuggish stuff. And if I live in a projects and I'm living with these guys that are thugs, I'm not just doing that because I'm respecting them. I'm doing that because I may be afraid of them. Because I grew up in that environment where some of the let's call them cool kids, were also the thug kids who you kind of hung out with and emulated because they could have been a bully. You didn't want to get messed with. But I agree with what Sir Charles said when he said, ultimately, we look up to the wrong people, and we give respect to the wrong people. And when you have girls, when the women themselves step up and say, boy, I ain't dating you with your pants hanging down like that, the brothers start to pull up their pants. But as long as the girls want that mentality, men aren't going to change. And that's part of it too, is that women, they don't have necessarily, in this ghetto atmosphere, they don't have the fathers to look up to see what a properly dressed man looks like, how a properly dressed man conducts himself. So now you're left off with the guys who have money rolls, and usually they're the drug dealers, or they're doing questionable things, or they have a gainfully employed and they have money, but they may live or dress or act or be in a certain manner that's not so much positive towards living that positive life, going down the road making more than $50,000 a year, or at least making above 20 grand and getting off of public assistance.
Right.
So it all comes down to perception of what we think is cool, and then, or hanging out with certain people because it's better to be closer to that potential enemy than to have them mess with you. But I'm right on board with what he said. We need to get out of that mentality of looking at the kid with the coolest hanging, lowest hanging pants, and the kid that can play basketball but can't spell his name, or the girl that looks so hot but every day of the week you see her with a different guy. Those aren't the people we would want to emulate. You want to emulate your teachers, your educators, your police officers, your firemen, your community officials, your civil servants. Those are the people that you would want to emulate, and your kids would.
We have a few minutes left. Pat, what do you feel about that?
I agree as well. I agreed with a lot of the points that Sir Charles was trying to make, especially when he discussed intelligence and education, like in grammar school settings, elementary school, whatnot. When there is an intelligent black child that is seen in the class as a smart kid, he will often be criticized for that and bullied and said, like, oh, well, like, do you think you're white because you're smart? A lot of things like that come up racially for kids, and it's a reality because especially in communities that like in southern Westchester, like Yonkers and Mount Vernon, you will get bullied for being the smart African American child in class. So it's really interesting, and I think it's true that we have to stop glorifying those like the athletes and the bad kids in class. Those unfortunately are a lot of times considered the cool kids.
Yeah. I agree with you guys, and unfortunately we got to get out of here. Don't forget, you can check us out on Verizon 45, Cablevision 76 on Fridays at 8 p.m. You can also check us out on WPCommunitymedia.org anytime from your PC, and we'll see you next week. See you later.